Today, my wife and I are visiting Colonial Williamsburg, an amazing living history museum in Virginia that tells the early part of America's enduring story. Come along with me and my wife as we explore a history buff's paradise. That's coming up next.
Fife syndrome. Disappear. Good afternoon and welcome to the art of fife and drum. In the 18th century, fifes and drums were the Army's method of communication. A single fife and a single drum could be heard upwards of a mile away. And you taught your soldiers, when you hear a certain song or tune on the fifes and drums, you're supposed to carry out a task. There were signals for loading your muskets, advancing on the field, fixing bayonets. So on the battlefield, fifes and drums helped to regulate the soldiers. In the camp, fifes and drums were used for a variety of different reasons. Primarily to send quick messages, like get up, time to eat, calling all sergeants, alarm, time to go to bed. All in all, there are about 80 different messages that fifers and drummers could send just using fifes and drums. We are going to be presenting a number of the various ceremonies that fifes and drums were involved in throughout a soldier's working day. What's the first thing a soldier needs to be able to do? He's got to wake up. Few people in the 18th century are better equipped for waking soldiers up than fifers and drummers. So every morning at dawn, the fifes and drums would start at the first corner of the camp, march to the second corner, basically march all the way around the camp, ensuring that everyone had heard the reveille. We are going to play a portion of the British reveille sequence for you. This is entitled First Camp. Fifes and drums. Again. The next ceremony was the inspection. All of the men would be assembled. They're required to have their weapon in good working order. The men themselves were to be clean shaven. They were to look their very best, and each man would be inspected by his commanding officer. To help pass the time, fifers and drummers were called upon to play what we would now call classical music, popular music of the day. We're going to play a selection from Arcangelo Corelli, and this is his Gavotte. This is Gavotte by Corelli. Pipes and drums. 10. The trooping ceremony was perhaps the most formal ceremony of the soldier's day. The trooping ceremony presents the colors or the flags of the Army. The men would be assembled, the flags would be brought out, and they would be marched in front of the men. First at the slow march, about one step every second, all the way down the length of men. Once we get down to the end of the assembled men, we about face and we march the flags back in front of them at the regular, the quick pace, 96 feet or steps per minute. This is done so that the soldiers may better recognize their flags on the battlefield. Today's trooping selection comes from Scotland and is entitled The Highland March, followed by The Lass of Livingston. Pipes and drums. 10. called upon to play popular tunes while on the march. We would now like to present a medley of Scottish tunes, including the Mackenzie Highlanders, the Drunken Piper, and the 74th Highlanders. Quick step in. Fifes and drums. 10. Hup. Tap it off. One of the final ceremonies of the day was the retreat. That ceremony was played about sundown and marked the end of the soldiers' workday. By far, possibly the most popular tune that a soldier wants to listen for all day long. Once retreat was beaten, passwords were put into effect to get in and out of the camp. Weapons were stored and fires were lit for cooking supper. We were going to play a Welsh selection for you. This retreat march is entitled Polly Oliver. Fife and drums. 10. Hup. Thank you all very much for braving the elements with us for giving us an opportunity to play for you. We have one more selection to play, but before we do so, I want to call something to everyone's attention. Fifers and drummers in this program come into our program at age 10, and they stay in the program until the summer after they graduate high school. So it's about 8 years. Once we get to the summer after high school, we start graduating our seniors from our program. And today, we're going to say or give a fond farewell to 2 such members. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Evan Uthney on snare drum, and Mr. John O'Neill on bass drum. We're going to finish this performance with one of their favorite selections. This is another Scottish tune entitled, "Hey Johnny Cope, Are You Woken Yet?" Fife and drums. Attend.